This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Time now for the nationally syndicated radio show, The World of Laurie Zoock. And now, here she is, the smart, the sexy, the savvy, divine Miss C.
And welcome to the show. Today is a combination platter show. My second guest is John David. Now, he's a pilot that flies rescue dogs, including Great Danes, across the country to their new homes, and you're going to get to meet him a little later on. After a long hiatus in parts unknown, please welcome Phil Harmonic. He's been gone way too long.
Well, hello, little darling, I'm coming knocking round your door. Well, hello, little darling, I'm coming knocking round your door. I've been gone for way too long, you know I can't take it anymore. Well, I'll be gone a month of Sundays, and that's a way long, lonely time. I'll be gone a month of Sundays, and that's a way long, lonely time. No matter what I did, I couldn't keep you off of my mind. I've been gone for way too long. I've been gone for way too long. Well, I'm gonna see my baby. Well, I got the pedal to the metal, and I'm racing across state lines. I got the pedal to the metal, and I'm racing across state lines. I'm gonna hurry till I get there, and then I'm gonna take my time. I'll be gone for way too long. I've been gone for way too long. Well, I've been gone for way too long. I just can't take it anymore. I've been gone for way too long. I just can't take it anymore. I've been gone for way too long. I just can't take it anymore.
That was wonderful. We enjoyed that so much. So, Phil, I want to start at the beginning and tell me a little bit about yourself.
Oh, that's a big subject. Don't even know where to start. You want to know how I got involved in this guitar playing?
I would love to know.
Okay, well, this is a classic story. See, I was actually a young boy, saw the Beatles on TV. Now, growing up in that time, you know, in the early 60s, music was everywhere. AM radio was the big thing. And you heard Motown, and you heard Muscle Shoals, and Stax Records, and country. It's a great time to be alive. It's a great time for music. And it just drew me right in. I knew I had to go play guitar.
Well, you play beautifully, and the fact that you can play it with the harmonica at the same time, that in itself is a talent.
It's nothing any 10-year-old kid can't do with 30 years of practice.
Well, it's sounding really good. So this was your inspiration was listening to these musicians play.
It was.
That got you into it. So did you come from a musical family at all, or it was just your influences?
Not really, my dad kind of, wanked around on a guitar a little bit after I got one. I discovered he played a tiny bit. My mom used to play piano, but as far as I know, I'm the only one that went stupid head over heels into it.
Well, you sound great at doing it. I mean, have you had other professions besides musician?
Well, leads me to the title of my CD, Jack of All Trades. I am a jack of all trades. I've done, you name it, I probably have done it. Been a welder, carpenter, painter, drywall.
You've done a little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything, mechanics.
Okay. Now, did you take lessons or study music formally, or are you strictly self-taught?
A little of both. What lessons I had weren't that formal when I first got a guitar, which I had to buy my first guitar.
Okay.
Parents wouldn't buy me one, so I went out. I went to work, man.
That's how bad you wanted the guitar, huh?
Cutting yards and stuff. And there was a guy that came around once a week at County Park. We lived nearby, and gave lessons. And after that, showed a little promise. So my parents hooked me up with this local musician, and in town, and he'd come by the house once a week. And before I knew it, I was out gigging with him, doing daytime duos and stuff.
Wow. Now, how old were you when you did that?
About 11 and a half.
Oh, that's young.
12 years old, somewhere like that.
Okay, so did you know that you had the aptitude to play that well, that young?
No, I just like to play.
You just like to play?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I interview a lot of musicians, and every single one says the same thing. They don't do it for the money. They do it for the love of playing.
Yeah. Well, no, I'd like to do it for a little both now.
All right. That's right. It sounded good. But how did you get established as a professional? Did you start out at 11 and a half as a professional and you just got local jobs?
No, well, I wasn't a professional at 11 and a half. I wasn't getting paid for these gigs,
Okay. Not that early, huh? Okay.
I think to be professional, you got to be paid for it, right? Unless you
Right.
can count a hot dog and a Coke or something,
Yeah.
But no, in my teen years, I went on to play with some guys, doing local gigs and stuff, and then I kind of took a long hiatus from playing. Some life kind of happens and things and whatnot, And I went into the working professions, and I really enjoyed all the things I did, but I just kind of just kept moving on because I'd get bored or whatever with one and want to try something new.
So that's the jack of all trades. You've done a little bit of everything.
And really, what I really always wanted to do in my life, I think, was be a musician and play guitar. It's the first thing I ever really wanted to do.
Right.
I guess I'm trying to come full circle with it now. Maybe it'll be the last thing I ever do.
Okay. Well, why don't you play another song? Now, I know you have Dahlia with you here in the station. Do you guys want to play and maybe sing a song?
Well, I don't think Dahlia's prepared to do that, but
No.
I brought it on because Dahlia Moon, Miss Dahlia
The
Moon from
one?
Tampa,
Okay.
Florida, is a cohort of mine.
Yeah.
And we play.
Play
we
pretty
do some
often.
gigs together. We've got.
Done some recording too.
And we've got, yes, we have, and
Mm-hmm.
we've got a gig coming on Sundays. We're doing.
Well-
Do you have that address?
Oh no, I didn't pull up the address. I'm hosting an open mic night at Hammer Harry's in Tampa on Adamo Drive
Okay.
every Sunday, and he's going to be one of my featured artists for sure.
Great. All right. Well, why don't you entertain us with another song, and then we'll go to a commercial break, and we'll come back with you.
All right.
All
I'll
right.
tell you what.
What are you going to play for us?
How about if we do the title track off of Jack of All Trades, since we're talking about work and all that stuff?
Okay.
Gotta find the proper harmonica. Went
That's right. You
to
got to
it.
hook everything up, right?
went right to it. We got in the right key, you know.
That's all right. All right, we're getting ready.
Well, I'm a jack of all trades, the master of none. I do all kind of jobs, I don't stick to one. I know most things about everything under the sun. I can patch up your roof or build a picket fence. Whatever you need, that's what I do the best. I know most things about most things, and I can guess the rest. Well, I tune up your old car and make it run like a top. If your washer won't wash, I'll take it to my shop. If it's your heart that needs mending, well, let me fix you up. I'm a jack of all trades, the master of none. I do all kind of jobs, I don't stick to one. I know most things about everything under the sun.
Do you suffer from back, neck, or body pain? Do you suffer from migraines or have jaw or face pain? Has conventional medicine failed you? Were you injured or in an accident? Call chiropractic physician Dr. Dan Maddock at 813-935-1664. Dr. Dan has helped thousands of patients gain relief for more than 30 years. Dr. Dan is caring, gentle, and takes his time with each patient. He's also a past president of the International Craniopathic Society, a special certification of only 300 chiropractors worldwide. Dr. Dan helps patients from the neck up and the neck down. Dr. Dan accepts most insurance plans. Don't continue to live in pain. Call 813-935-1664 today. That's 813-935-1664 and get on track to better health.
Are you looking for an affordable way to advertise to thousands of consumers nationally? If you own a business and didn't think you could afford radio advertising, you need to call me, Laurie Zoock, host of the nationally syndicated radio show, The World of Laurie Zoock. My show reaches thousands of people on 29 AM and FM stations nationwide, as well as through the internet. Additionally, your commercials will also be heard on all of my podcasts and throughout social media sites. Don't wait another minute. Call me at 813-777-4908, 813-777-4908, and let me bring your message to the nation and to help you gain more exposure.
Central Payment, your #1 credit card merchant service provider in the industry. Providing e-commerce solutions, POS systems, standalone terminals, mobile apps, and much more. Call Central Payments James Carner at 813-777-4332. Looking for the lowest rates in the industry and #1 customer service? Call Central Payments James Carner at 813-777-4332. That's James Carner, 813-777-4332.
Hi, this is Laurie Zoock, radio host from The World of Laurie Zoock. I was so nervous about getting tattooed, but after doing my due diligence and checking out companies and artists, I had my tattoos done by Justin Dubois of Suncoast Tattoos. He is knowledgeable and artistic, and he gave me a beautiful tattoo, and he put me at ease before, during, and after the process. I just love my new tattoo. Go get your tattoo at Suncoast Tattoos. Call them at 727-575-7935 today. That's 727-575-7935. Or go to suncoasttattoos.net. Welcome back to the World of Laurie Zoock. My guest is Phil Harmonic of the Philharmonic Blues. And now, Phil, do you play other types of music than blues?
I do. I like lots of styles. I've kind of written a few country songs. I like country. I like old country. Actually, the songs I write themselves. You know, they kind of come out. They are what they are, and I sort of just fiddle with them and fine tune them. But here's a sort of country song. I don't know, but you tell me what you think.
Okay. Okay.
I get in trouble sometimes when I try and categorize my music. You know, I don't seem to know.
That's all right. Let's hear it.
This is called "See the Light." I've been looking for an answer. I've been searching for a heart of gold. Been a long time trying. Now I think about getting old. I've been looking for a reason. Try to understand the changes of the season. It means to be a man. Don't always know where I'm going to. I keep trying to get it right. See the light. Been a long time trying, but I was always in doubt. Living, I was dying, hoping everything would work out. All came the hard time, bit me in the eye, took me up and turned me out. Left it there to dry. I don't always know where I'm going to. I keep trying till I get it right. See the light. in the shadows, things are looking dim. Doing a whole lot of thinking about the shape I'm in. The change is on the wind, time's getting near. I let go of the heartache, dry away my tears. I don't always know where I'm going to, but I keep searching through the night. See the light. See the light. See the light. See the light.
I love that. You know, your style is unique. I can't really classify that as a style, as a particular style, as blues or country. It's different. And I have to ask you, how difficult is it? I'm watching you play. You're playing the guitar. That's one thing. You're playing the harmonica at the same time. That's another thing. And in between that, you're singing. How hard is it to coordinate doing those three things at the same time?
Well, it helps not to think a lot about it.
You just do it.
Yeah, whenever you start thinking, you get in trouble, you know. But I don't know. You know, I started playing harmonica completely independent of guitar, actually. When I was a teenager, you know, a young teen, you know, I didn't have transportation. I walked a lot. And to take some of the drudgery and distance out of walking, I've, you know, grabbed a harmonica and just would play it walking down the street, you know, to wherever I was going. And that's kind of how I learned how to play harmonica until it became almost second nature.
You'd have to think about it. But putting it together, playing two instruments at the same time, I would think that would be challenging. No, you're not thinking about it. You're just doing it.
About it. I just do it, and I you know.
That's all right.
I can't say there's a trick to it. I don't know.
How do you come up with your songs? Do you do music or lyrics first? What's your inspiration? How does it happen for you?
Sometimes it happens, you know, like when I'm working or doing, you know, I'll be doing some mindless thing like painting or caulking, and, you know, an idea will hit me, and, you know, I got to write it down. You know, the songs pretty much happen. The idea comes to me, and maybe a lot of the words, the majority of it. I may or may not have the music to it right then. It might come later. Sometimes it comes first.
Okay.
But the concept is brewing, and then I just fine-tune it afterward.
All right. Tell me about your CDs. You have a CD out, and you're coming up with another CD?
I've got one out and one in the can. The one that's out is Jack of All Trades, and the one in the can coming out is one that was another Come To Me song. It was I was working on a roof recently.
Okay.
And we had to haul up some big roofing bales at the end of the day, you know, and it seems like 120 pounds a piece. And dude, I just can't do that anymore, man. I'm too old. You know, so like, you know, the old saying, I'm as good once as I used to be. You know,
right.
Well, you know, that spawned a song, and so the name of the new CD is As Good Once as I Used to Be.
I like that. That's pretty good.
And
now,
there's a title song that goes with it.
All right, so name some of the songs that'll be on that CD.
Oh boy, I don't know. Yeah, it's in the can still. Let's see. Where's it like? I guess you
Okay.
few up that aren't gonna be on there.
Yeah, so you're on a roof and you're
I
thinking
guess,
music.
Okay, the song As Good Ones as I Used to Be is going to be on there. A song called Backbreaker is going to be on there. Now that one happened right after I wrote As Good As I Used to Be. It just came boom right after because I knew I was going to need a filler song in there, you know, and it happened to be okay. So I got lucky with that one.
Okay. No, that's all right.
So Backbreaker, Stone Cold. It'll be a little more edgier than this CD, I think, as far as, you know, content, you know.
Okay.
It's all G-rated. But.
That's good. That's important. That's important for our audience. That's right. You know, and now being I'm also a musician. You're a musician. What advice would you give to aspiring musicians? Because, I know it's difficult for people to make it. Yeah.
Go to school.
Right.
Learn something. Get a job.
No.
No, I don't know. Do what you want, I mean, if somebody's pushing, there's a lot of parents that push their kids into instruments, and a lot of them have begrudgingly become good players from the experience, But my parents never pushed me. Matter of fact, I had to push myself through it, I'd say just go with what you want to do, play what you want. It's a wide open field today, they're making music with everything.
They are, and it's hard. And a lot of the younger kids do that digital music, like with GarageBand, they do it. Well, you know what I'm talking about?
This was recorded on my laptop.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because it's different now. You have the technology being able to do that, whereas years ago you couldn't do that.
Right, yeah.
All right, now talk about how someone can purchase your music. If they want to go, you sell your music right off your website, correct?
I do, or at gigs.
Okay.
And the website is Harmonic Blues, one word, .com.
Okay. And tell me, where do you play? I know Dolly said you guys play around locally. What places, what venues do you play at?
I played all the venues at one time or another in Tampa and the surrounding areas. Like I said, your introduction about a slight hiatus is correct. I've been on a slight hiatus. I've had a couple other projects in the works and stuff. And Dolly and I have this gig coming up in Brandon, and then I'm talking with a couple of management people right now, a couple of booking agents.
Okay.
I'd like to.
Phil, I want to thank you very much for joining me today. Why don't you take us out with one last song?
Thank you for having me, and Dolly, Miss Dolly Moon. And I will take you out with Restless Nights. I'm having restless nights every day since losing you. Restless nights every day since losing you. Early in the evening, right on through the morning dew. You broke my heart on the day you left me flat. Broke my heart on the day you left me flat. Whatever did I do now to make you treat me bad like that? Hug me back, say you left my heart. You broke my heart the day you left me flat. Whatever did I do now to make you treat me bad like that? Nothing but troubled skies, and my heart is full of pain. Cloudy skies, and my heart is full of pain. Nothing left but heartache and tears like falling rain. Having restless nights every day since losing you. I'm having restless nights every day since losing you. Early in the evening.
Joining me now is John Davis. He's a volunteer pilot for Pilots and Paws. Now, John's flown a tremendous amount of rescue dogs to their new homes across the country. And John, I want to welcome you to the show.
Thank you very much, Laurie.
Tell me a little bit about your background, because I remember you worked for NASA. You used to work for NASA, correct?
That is correct, 40 years.
Okay. How did you get into becoming a volunteer pilot? Tell me your story.
Well, would you like a little background on the NASA?
Sure.
Well, the NASA sort of started this whole thing getting into electronics. I was a veteran, and I had been discharged. I was coming out of the service, and this is in the 50s, late 50s, and it was really hard to find a job in New Jersey. I spent looking for jobs well over 5 days a week and about 9 months until I saw a small ad in our local newspaper. And it intrigued me. It said the U.S. Signal Corps was looking for an upper atmospheric physicist. Well, I said, I'm a physicist. I don't know about the rest, but I said I applied. And about 6 months later, I had an interview, and I was offered a job at Camp Evans, Belmar, New Jersey. I was really a very fortunate person, as I look back on that, as the job turned into working with 15 wonderful people who were designing and building the hardware for what was to become the Vanguard satellite program. And that was in March 17th, 1958. They launched it, which was our first country's endeavor into outer space. And I look back, and I'm still talking with some of those people as of today.
Great. Now, right now, you're a volunteer pilot, so kind of lead in for me. How did that happen?
Well, it was sort of like an accident, Laurie. I was taking pilot's lessons at Carroll County Airport in Westminster, Maryland, while talking to people and pilots in the pilot's lounge, as they call it, and while working with different pilots taking lessons, I met some pilots that introduced me to dog rescue. And that so intrigued me. I have been doing it every day since about 2000. And I just enjoyed every minute of it. And we only have 3 pilots at this airport. One of them is a nice young lady, and another is an instructor. And we sort of team up and work what's called shifts, meaning or legs, as they use it in the aircraft, for dog flights. If you have a dog flight over so many nautical miles or ground miles, whichever, you have to team up because the average GA pilot sort of likes to fly about 350 miles a trip.
Okay.
So that's what got me started on this whole program.
Now, 350 miles, how long does that take to fly in a small plane?
Well, you can usually get a ground speed, and the reason you use that is because it makes more sense to people than pilots. You could usually get a ground speed of about 110 miles an hour, and then winds may be helpful. I've had that go as high as 140 miles an hour, which is, of course, favorable to the dogs and favorable to the pilot because you get your job done quick and less strain on the animal.
Gotcha. Now, how many dogs have you flown? How long have you been doing this?
I've been doing this since about 2011, not full time because I'm retired, but usually you fly an average of maybe a flight a week. And I believe, without sitting and counting, and I don't, I feel that myself, I've flown over about 100 dogs, and the group that I fly with, the 3 of us, and it has a name called Team Mutt-Muff. And the team has flown at least 500 to 600 dog rescues. And we find it rewarding, and we also have interest in things like other areas where the Team Mutt-Muff does not do it, but since Team Mutt-Muff is a sub of Pilots and Paws, which is the large USA affiliate, we usually fly in the USA, and there have been cases where dogs have been flown in Puerto Rico, Bahamas, Mexico. But one of the key features is that a few soldiers have tied on with Pilots and Paws, and after they've been deployed and they're back, I say affectionately, Pilots and Paws, have seen to it that they get a nice transportation of their dog to their home.
That's a very good idea. Now, it's obvious to me that you're a dog lover, and we spoke before even doing this show, because I'm with the Great Dane Rescue, Mid-Atlantic Great Dane Rescue. And so tell me about your love of dogs.
Well, I started out when I first had children in the family, and I started with German short-haired pointers, and I had many of them. My father and I decided to show them at the Westminster Kennel Club up in New York, and there was quite a few ribbons won, which was very rewarding, and the dogs were really nice. But when I got onto my own, I don't know why, but one day I saw this beautiful black female Great Dane, and I said, wow, that's what I want to do. So I found a male, and we went through 2 sets of puppies, which were fabulous because about 80% of them were black, and the male was what's called a harlequin, and you usually get a harlequin as a throw-off, which is a patched Dane, and you probably know as much about that being part of the rescue. They're black and white, but they're still a beautiful dog. So that's when we got started, and I've loved dogs, cats, all sorts of animals ever since.
Now, flying the dogs in a plane, how hard is it to do that? Because, you know, when you have, like, for example, in a large aircraft, when you fly, you have the babies, they have the problems with the ears, you know, when you're going up. How does that affect the dogs, or does it not really?
Well, it does. It affects humans slightly different. Humans can go to about 10,000 feet before oxygen. Actually, it's something like 12. But the dogs get what I call a little bit of oxygen deprivation, nothing serious. It makes them a little woozies in a sense. So they'll lie down. Most of them will. And then we have a habit of trying to make things sort of relaxing for mother dogs. We usually try to size a cage, which we do use on smaller dogs in the plane. And so we try to put mother and the puppies together. And all of this teams up really nicely. The bigger dogs can be, in a sense, leashed to an interior seat belt in the plane. And something like Great Danes, we don't try to put them in a cage, not necessary. And, and we use cages, especially when we have dogs that are a little bit at a conflict with one another, not too friendly.
Gotcha.
Do you sedate them at all?
No, don't recommend it. And if you do want to do sedation, I would certainly check with your vet, because I don't think the average person should fool around with sedation because you might overdo it.
Yeah, I wouldn't imagine that you would have dogs loose, but having a Great Dane myself, I could just imagine my dog in your plane sitting in the front seat next to you as a co-pilot driving. That's what I picture. They'd be on top of you, you know, and the plane would be in trouble, of course, at that point. So,
no, we try to forego that with making sure that the leash cannot get them any farther to the front than the back of the pilot seat.
Now, how large or how small is the plane that you're flying? I mean, how many dogs can you fit on a plane?
Well, in the sense of the magnitude of dogs, it all has to do with weight, because weight and balance is a critical aircraft problem. I can do about, after we get through with the pilot and the co-pilot and the fuel, I can do somewhere close to 800 pounds of dog. And it's amazing. I recently had a flight with 260-pound Great Danes, and they loved every minute of it. So that was only 300, and that's, of course, I could have put another one in, but now you're getting floor space cramped.
Right,
so
right.
We've had as many as 20 dogs in the plane. Of course, they're mostly all puppies with the mamas.
I gotcha. Okay, because I know when I looked at your website, you have the guidelines for pilots. So I'm assuming that gives you the rules for pilots who want to fly.
Yeah, Pilots and Paws has a very definite one. I would recommend anybody that want to be a little more aware, give me a call or go to Pilots and Paws directly, because it's a pretty lengthy thing, but very basic. Usually the size and weight of the pets need to be determined for your flying, and you should have pets harnessed with an approved harness and tied into the, like on a car seat, but you just use the straps. And then you have to think about restroom problems for dogs. You usually allow the animals to sort of have a restroom break, and that's why flying over 300 miles is about the limit. It's also pretty much the limit before you have to have fuel. And again, back to the comment, sedating animals is the best left to your veterinarian.
Gotcha.
One of the most important things for a guideline for the pilots is to remember to have clean cages, blankets, towels, quilts, whatever you want to use in the plane, because it's very, very important to prevent disease that can be transmitted to dogs, like, if anybody remembers, feline distemper in cats.
Right.
Well, it's now becoming a problem in dogs. It's not called that. It's called parvo.
I gotcha. Now, I just have to ask this question because you kind of led into it. Are there a lot of poop accidents? on the plane? Are there a lot of poop accidents? I mean, are the dogs nervous? Obviously, they probably have never been in a plane before, so I could see that being almost like a trauma to the animal, a shock.
You're absolutely right. You got to be a little prepared. One of my pilots wasn't, and he decided to take puppies in his lap. we will probably not want to discuss much more, but you get prepared with, like you've seen them in the parks, plastic baggies, you put your hand in backwards.
Right.
Right, we use that. I usually throw a lot of old clean towels in, and I also carry around some of those little wipes that you use for your hands or everything else, like without getting into brand names, but they're moisturized and usually have a disinfectant embedded in the cloth. Those type things, and again, back to the comment is you try to be sure to walk the dogs before you take them off. And also, if you're in a two-leg flight where you're going to do another pilot, both of you team up, and if you got 3 or 4 dogs, you take a couple each, and you just go check them. Most airports, believe it or not, do have grass. And you walk them there, and you sort of try to keep your eye on them. But that's an important part of the guidelines for pilots, is making sure the dog is at ease. Or we do fly cats, obviously.
Right. Now, when you fly, do you normally have a co-pilot with you, or you're just doing this yourself?
Well, the way I look at it, as I got started, and I was sort of, in a sense, brought aware, you should probably, if you're a new pilot, you should probably have a co-pilot, because you don't probably realize what you're in for. You can have all sorts of things happen. None of them are necessarily serious, but number one, cats should be caged. You don't want them clinging over your head to the lining of the aircraft.
Right. I could picture that, Garfield. Yeah.
I don't want to look up and see something looking down at me, not particularly. And with puppies, I've had them where they're smart enough to know they can get under the pilot and co-pilot seat, which is not good, because if you think of your car, it's no different. You got a gas pedal, you got a brake. Or in the aircraft, you have other pedals that you need to be aware of getting at with your feet. So the desirable thing is to bring the extra pilot. Actually, the young lady that I fly with that was co-pilot, one of the puppies got his leash so ensnarled he was actually hanging from the side of the plane. She did a back-over flip like if he were a diver and put herself in the back and undid the leashes and everything, and that you could have never done as the pilot. You just can't afford to let go of the controls to go back to the dog. You'd have to put the plane down on the ground. Yeah, you have to have a lot of safety precautions I'm assuming if you're flying yourself, because you can't just pull over if something goes wrong. Don't you wish? Oh, my gosh. Yeah, yourself, you're a driver, I'm sure, so if the car goes bad, you just pull it to the curb. Well, in this guy, you may have 5,000 feet to get to the curb. I gotcha. Now, tell me a bit, what is the best part? Because I can tell that you love doing this. What is the best part of doing this for you? Well, the best part, and I have to sort of take it from a lead from the nice young lady that flies my co-pilot seat, she says, a doggy flight is well appreciated when the doggy gives you lots of kisses. And she said it's worth 1,000,000 dog flights. And that's what I always look at. Yeah. Now, I know you're giving back to the rescue community, which I think is great. Volunteering is something a lot of people should do it. I mean, it gives you back love, especially in something you're doing with animals here. Would you encourage others to join Pilots and Paws? Definitely. The Pilots and Paws is a national USA organization of many thousand pilots. And there is a sister one, too, for people related to Canada. There is Pilots and Paws Canada, which is affiliated with this Pilots and Paws USA, and they have chartered the name and accepted it as a nationwide thing for Canada. Okay. Now, tell me, the organization, how did it come to be, Pilots and Paws? How many pilots are there? Yes. A nice young lady by the name of Debbie Boys was a retired nurse, and she used to raise Morgan horses for well over 25 years, according to statistics. And she is the founding member of this organization because she used to be involved with Doberman Assistance Networking, a national Doberman rescue group. When she lost her dog, so I understand about 12 years old, and lost it, she decided she wanted to do something, and she ended up with running a horse farm in South Carolina. And at that point, she decided that she wanted to work on how would she get herself a dog and how would she work it out. And lo and behold, she set up and organized Pilots and Paws, which was the name that came into mind, and it just literally took off with that. And now there are thousands of general aviation pilots working with her. Somewhere around 5,000 pilots nationally work with Debbie. She's a wonderful young lady. She has a beautiful horse farm in South Carolina, and she's the focal point for the operation of this, and she has set up a beautiful website to take care of requesting dogs and things like that for flight.
Now, how does it work from your end as a volunteer? Do you have to pay for, the airplane fuel, for example, out of pocket? How does that work?
Everything the pilot does, except for the vet checking for the dog, is out of pocket. And it's well worth it when you realize, you look around and you say, hey, what would I be doing with my money? Would I be buying a sailboat, buying an ATV? And I look at it, and thousands of other pilots look at it the same way. What a wonderful way to do something and realize that your money is really, in a sense, action for you. It's getting a dog to a good home. It's getting a dog out of a bad problem, or it's getting a family a happy friend of one. Sometimes people take more than one dog. So this is the way we look at it. Yes, it's all out of pocket.
Okay. Now, for pilots who may be listening, what are the guidelines for them if they're interested? What do they have to do? Obviously, they have to have a pilot's license, but are there other criteria?
Yes, there's not a lot of serious criteria here. You have to be obviously a certified pilot. Desirably, it works a little easier if you own your own plane, but we have pilots that rent planes. They have their certificate. They don't own a plane. Either they're a partnership in a plane, or you can obviously go to flight schools and rent planes for a figure of so many dollars an hour, and we have pilots that do that. And you also have to have a medical. You have to be approved. In other words, having a pilot's license is something that you don't lose for the rest of your life, but your medical is the one that has to be kept updated depending upon your age group. It's either every 2 years or as you go up in age. You need to do it every year.
All right. Now, how do rescue organizations request a transport? Somebody hears this show. What do they do if they need the help of a pilot?
Okay, keeping it in a simplistic manner because it's a little more involved, but you would go to Pilots and Paws, and the middle one is an N, Pilots and Paws, and you would go to their posting procedures on their website, which is pilotsandpaws.org. And I would request that, you do it. This is sort of lengthy. It's not difficult. They have what they call a board index, and once you set up to log yourself in, you can put down your requirements, and then the pilots read them. And the thing is, Pilots and Paws really does not organize the flights. It's between the sender and the receiver, or as you should say, the adopter, and the pilots, or pilots with an S, meaning more than one.
Gotcha.
There are guidelines posted on Pilots and Paws website, and I would request them. Or, Laurie, if somebody wants to get a hold of me, you can give them my email, which is Victor India Delta Juliet Foxtrot Delta @yahoo.com.
Okay, very good. Now, Pilots and Paws, do they look for sponsors or donations?
Well, they have some now. I'm not real familiar with what Debbie does, but I know Subaru is a very big sponsor of Pilots and Paws, and they've been doing it for years. And what's really nice, you were talking about those expenses,
right?
The fuel and things. Well, bless their hearts, they come up with shipping you free of charge a few cages, a few harnesses, a few of those little bags we were talking about, and a little handy dispenser,
right?
Things of that nature.
The important things, right?
And this is obviously, I can't speak for them at the moment. I'd be assured that some of these are probably donations by companies that sell or manufacture those products.
I gotcha. Okay, now we've got about 2 minutes before the show ends, so can you maybe quickly give me a great story that you want to share?
Okay, the best one I've ever seen was what happened just a few weeks ago in Hagerstown, Maryland. They were having trouble with two Great Danes, which you're familiar. That's an organization you're involved in.
Right.
So if folks really wanted to see something enjoyable, I would recommend they go to WHAG-TV. This is Google that, WHAG-TV, and put in the words Scooby, Great Dane, and you'll see the whole NBC broadcast of my flight for two lovable Great Danes that was really sad. They were brought into a rest stop on Interstate 81 and thrown out the door. And so thanks to getting contact to myself and my co-pilot, who happens to be a Southwest pilot, that we picked those two beautiful dogs up and flew them all the way to Ohio, and another leg took them on up to Minnesota. So I find this very rewarding and really a great story because it shows how teamwork can make a couple of dogs' lives so much easier.
It does. And, I think you need a bigger plane, John. So you could take a lot of dogs at one time. You need a big plane.
You were talking about those donations. I won't turn down a bigger plane.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for everything that you do. And I want to thank you very much for being on the show. John Davis from Pilots and Paws. Pilots, the letter N, paws.com, right?
That is correct, Laurie.
All right. Thanks again, John.
You folks have a nice day. Take care.
We will. And join us again next week on The World of Laurie Zoock.